Our last speaker is Professor Patrick Wall, and he's an associate professor of public health at the Food Standards Agency. Patrick, I have a huge lot about you. Can I just cut it down and just give a few points? Because I think they need to know who you are. Professor Wall is an associate professor of public health at the Food Standards Agency, and he was chief executive of the Food Safety Authority of Ireland between 1998 and 2002. In September 2006, he was elected as chairman of the Management Board of European Food Safety Authority. He is, ladies and gentlemen, both a vet and a doctor, which is a rather unusual and a valuable person. And he was, at some time ago, a consultant in the National Health Service, based in the Public Health Laboratory Services Communicable Disease Surveillance Centre, in charge of the surveillance and investigation of outbreaks of gastrointestinal diseases. That's almost impossible to say. Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Wall.
Okay, thanks very much, Chairman. I think the Chairman isn't eating enough eggs because he's not able to read his own writing. I'm not in the Food Standards Agency. I was the Chief Executive of the Irish equivalent, and currently I'm in the University in Dublin, hiding in academia. Basically, I just given a quick overview. I'm a medical doctor, and so I'm outside your space, and so I'm just looking in from the outside, and I agree with this hen here. I think the future is good. You know, you might think it's tough times, and we heard about the price of feed, etc. But like, you're better off being in the food business at the moment than being a builder, okay, or a banker. Whatever people give up in a recession, they can't give up eating. You know. But, the theme today is Stronger Together, and this is the Canadian goose, and they fly across the Atlantic, but they can't do it on their own. And so when they fly in a team, they're 75% more efficient. So, like, sticking together is the way, because when you're in tough times, a team will always beat an individual. And everything from purchasing groups through to sticking together to ensure you get correct policy. And basically, in the previous talk, you can't let 11 sites dictate policy for you. So like, there's a lot to be said for some of the bigger players who have multi-house sites and good records to volunteer one of their sites to say, well, look, we'll put one of our sites up. We've good records. We know how this site performed in the last X number of cohorts of birds. We'll see what happens when we leave the beaks on. So, I mean, if you get NAV policy, it's probably your own fault in this case, and perhaps for the organisation, you're talking about, if the wheels do come off the wagon, maybe the organisation can chip in a bit for the people who suffer, because they're doing this for the good of everybody. But like, to have, you're in control at the moment. But if you don't have good trials, you might get bad results, and policy be based. And the policymakers, a lot of the policymakers have, they're not that knowledgeable about your industry. We talk about, as Suzanne talked about, there's a disconnect between the consumer and the industry. Sometimes there's a disconnect between the policymakers and the industry that they're setting the policies for. So be careful there, that's all I'd say, 4 necessities for success, I think, looking at it from the outside, is one, confidence. And we heard a little bit about confidence, but you've got to be confident in yourselves and confident in your product. You've got to be really confident in the product that you have, and you have the product to be confident in. Competitive, okay, it's probably never been as competitive since we got the enriched colonies, because in Ireland, like, the commercial producers that were in cages were dragged kicking and screaming into the enriched colonies, and they said the consumers have gone mad and Brussels has gone mad. But now they find that those flocks are performing very well, and there's nearly a business case for the enriched colony. And the punters, when they go into the supermarkets and they see enriched eggs, geez, I think these must be better than the free-range ones because they're enriched. So it's competitive, and so there's no question everybody's got to be match fit. And if everybody is, when you stick together as a group, there are initiatives that some of you are doing that are working great that other people could copy. Like, you don't all have to be operating in isolation. Creative, I don't think we're nearly creative enough with how you market the product. I mean, for me as a medical doctor, the product's completely undersold. And credit, it's a huge issue to get credit. I mean, the mills are carrying lots of people, and credit from the mills and credit from the bank and credit from everybody is challenging. Challenges. We heard a bit about the supply-demand curve being out of kilter, and if there's too many eggs being produced, well, the price is going to crash. But and so basically we control the supply, so we won't have the boom and bust. But the other thing is, why don't we drive up the demand?